I arrived on site and noticed that there are numerous cranes that are in the area that I'm going to be flying. So the first thing to do is we're going to need to check to see how high those cranes are. So we'll select the project, get it opened up. Next thing we need to do is connect our RTK. So the inlet is up and running. I have to go down here and kind of cycle a few things to basically get it connected. So right there, I need to go back to my phone and cycle that connection, come back to the controller, and then hit save. So right now my phone is recycling, hotspot on my phone. Okay, now it's connected. So we'll scroll down and watch for the data feed to come through. There's the data feed. So RTK is connected. We'll go through and do some of our settings. One of them is to format the memory card. I do that on every project so that the card's totally empty and ready to go. Double check the mechanical shutter and dewarping's turned on. Okay, the standard deviation is cycling down. By the time we get up in the air, it should be down to the 0.03 deviation. So we're looking at our flight lines. I'm going to start the drone. So the flight plan was initially created at 200 AGL. I changed it to 250, kind of thinking there were some obstacles in the area, but wasn't sure till I got on site. So now I'm going to go up to approximately 250 and then turn the drone to take and look over there towards those towers. You can see those towers are pretty tall. I'm at my 90 degrees, or correction, 0 degrees for the gimbal, and those towers look, and some of them are taller than the 250. So I'm going to change now that we've kind of know where they're at. I still don't know where they're at horizontally until we start flying. But I can at least get up high enough to be somewhat clear of them. So I'll go in and do an edit. I'm going to change the 250 to 275. Save that. Go ahead at this point and get our mission started. So we're going to upload flight mission, hit start, tilt the camera down. I do this manually. Tilt the camera down, cycle through to get it focused. So I want manual focus. And then we'll lock in the exposure so that the settings aren't changing as this thing's flying along. I want to keep all the same settings. So I'm looking down and now I've got the FPV view up, which is a cool feature on here, so that I'm looking for those cranes just to make sure I'm not going to run into them. I do have obstacle avoidance, so it should stop, but I have not tested that yet to see if that really works. I know it can't see wires, but it can see obstacles like those cranes and power poles and cell towers and things like that. I have had it pick up birds as well that may fly around the drone. So this is cruising along, snapping its pictures. So those pictures are all based upon the flight parameters that I have for this particular sensor. So we're at the waypoint we turn. So I can see a crane up way over there on the far right and along my flight line. What's kind of nice with the waypoint missions that are on sites that have cell towers and other things that are fixed that you can actually see in Google Earth, you can maneuver those flight lines around those fixed features. Here, these cranes are all moved around on a whenever they need to change the location, so there's no way of knowing where they are in advance until you get out on site. So all I'm doing is watching here to look and watch for any obstructions so I can either pause the flight or see how the drone is going to handle it. We're getting close to the end of our flight line. We should be turning here shortly. Camera still pointed down, so you have to be careful when you're flying that you don't touch buttons and things on your controller to change any of the settings while it's flying. RTK still good, remote controller signal's good, battery's good. So I'm watching all these parameters as we're moving along, just to confirm. So I can see my flight speed here on the left side, 24.6. That's what it should be for this flying. Actually, that's for the flying height at 250. We're flying higher, and I didn't change the flight speed, so our front overlap at snapping pictures is now tighter than it would be if I would have changed that flight speed for 275. And that's okay. If you went lower than what you had initially put in there, then that would be a problem because then now the overlap would be way too much or way too less. So everything's still looking good here. Camera still pointed down. One of the things I don't like doing is having to fly a site twice. I just want to get in, get it flown, and get out. And I've been pretty fortunate over the years to be able to make that happen. So there's the crane, there's the one crane. We're high enough above that crane. There are some others here that are much taller. So I'm looking back just to kind of look at the crane. I didn't stay long enough. Let's see. So I'm also, while this thing's flying and I'm looking down at this, I'm just kind of getting a mental picture of the site and how complex it's going to be for any planimetrics that we'll be drawing and what other kind of features on the ground that we're going to need to identify. So it's just a quick mental picture. When we get the ortho done, we'll have that to work with. But I do like being able to review the site while we're flying and then go back into the office and I already have a mental picture. So it's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like doing quality control and getting a good feel for the project site before going back into the office. So then when I'm in the office, it just makes things go much smoother. At least that's been my experience. This is an active construction site. Um, Going back to the FPV view, I can see the several cranes over there on the left side of the screen. So those particular ones look like we're high enough above them, so they're not going to be an issue. Here we're flying by that one crane again that we had already reviewed. I kind of wish that the FPV was color, but it's using the sensor cameras to come up with this view. So I can live with the black and white. It is kind of hard to read it sometimes. So now we're turning. I'm just kind of watching for more of those cranes. One thing about having those cranes there is that I won't have to worry about helicopters coming through. So that's another thing we got to watch for. And here in the Phoenix area, we do have a lot of helicopters flying around. And I probably about 80% of the time I'm out on a site, I will have a helicopter come through. It's just amazing. I think they get on, they call each other and say, hey, Jim's out flying over here in this location. Swing by. I think they do it on purpose. I know they don't, but I just trying to be funny. Okay, so this is going pretty good. We're 52% complete. Pictures are still snapping. You can tell they're snapping by how the over there in the cam view that it pauses. That's when it pauses. That's when it's snapping. The drone's not stopping, but it's pausing, and the mechanical shutter's capturing everything instantly. So we don't have any blurring going on with the images. All right, here we are cycling back. We're headed south. I do like if you look at the bottom center, the compass down there, it does give you a heading, which is a nice feature on this drone. This is the Matrice 4 Enterprise with the RC Plus controller. I like the compass rose because I do. So here comes a crane right there. So we're above that one. So that one's a non-issue. And there's another one right below us there. So I'm not concerned. I'm not sure where the flight line is going to be for that crane over there to the far left. Is it right at our height? And I don't know if we're going to be going that far. We're 62% done. I think we're going to be okay, but I still got my finger on close to the pause button on the controller just so that I can pause it and take over if I have to. So anyway, back to this compass rose. There are occasions that I'll fly the flight lines manually, just for fun usually, or if it's a really small site, instead of going through and setting it all up in Google Earth to do the flight planning, I'll just go out and I'll use the grid lines and fly it manually and snap the pictures. It's quick and simple and easy, and with that compass rose and the heading that's on there, I can ensure that I'm flying parallel along the flight lines, and then the grid lines I can move up, stop, take a picture, and that's very helpful in making sure I'm getting the right overlap. So we're 70% done now. Things are going really smooth. You can see here I'm just kind of zooming in to check the flight lines. So that's not a live image of the ground right there. That's based upon uh, Google Earth or wherever I can't remember which source I'm using for that background map, but it's not current. There's a lot more construction that's taken place since that snapshot. All right, now we're headed towards those cranes way up there on the south end. Um, I will have to, if we were to lose signal and it head back, my return to home, you can see it over there on the right side, is at 200 feet, which is my normal flying height. So I'd have to also watch that. But if it had to return home, I don't want it hitting one of those cranes. So I could see here that the crane just to the right, I'm plenty high above that one. I'm right at the height for the other two there on the left. So I'm hoping the flight lines don't go that far. We'll find out. So I'm keeping an eye on it. My thumb is by the pause button, just trying to be ready. So you can see right there that crane to the right, and my little circle where the drone is, that crane is higher than 275. So that's an obstruction. I'm hoping our flight line will be done before we get that far over there. Looking down there in the lower left hand side, I can see I got one more flight line, and I'm hoping it's not where that crane is at. It shouldn't be based on my side overlap. We're 87% done. Things are still going smooth. No extra manned aircraft in the area. And we're about to the end of this flight line, so we're going to be turning and headed down our final flight line. And we're 90% complete. Things are looking good. So now we need to keep an eye on that crane. It's really close to our flight line, but it's not on our flight line. So we're doing good. We're looking good. Now we got that crane. There's a crane right at the end of the flight line. That one I need to be ready to either end the mission or pause it because I'm not quite sure what the height is yet. I can't see it real clear. The sensors aren't picking up those cranes there to the left because it's not showing up down on that compass rose. So we're creeping in here. Okay, so this is the last flight line. We're almost, job's almost done, 95%. We are barely above, not, no, we're right at the height of that crane. I hope, get ready, pause, get ready to pause. We should be at the end of our flight line. Wow. We got lucky on that one because I had no idea where those cranes are until we got on site. So we didn't have to do any emergency procedures on this one. That's always a good thing. Now we're headed home. Not gonna, those cranes aren't an issue. So another site has been flown. So now we'll watch it come in. I've never had to take over. I do let it auto land. Even I when I start the project, I do a manual takeoff, get exposure and focus all locked in. set the gimbal straight down. I do all that manually. And then when the flight's all done, then I'll bring it home and I'll let it do its auto landing. All I'm doing here is just keeping an eye on it in case I need to take over. But I've never had to take over on the auto landing. Um, it's always come right back to the launch location, and I've never had an issue with RTK and without RTK. They both work. So now I'm telling the guy that's with me, my escort, letting him know it's coming into land. So he backed up a little bit. Coming in, coming in. Curious people. All right, on the pad.